Family, can we talk about internalized paranoia about traveling to other places, especially when you have conversations with people um, who live in places like New York, Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit? Like, they're from some really rough places, but when you say, hey, let's travel outside the country, then you hear stuff like,
Man, I don't know, B. It's crazy out there. They be killing.
and I'm just over here like, people die every day, B. Let's talk about this a little bit, shall we? Hey, welcome to Intentional Queening with Eve. Now let's get into it. So let's get into it. If you don't already know my story, this year I made a decision that I'm going to change my life. Living in the United States right now, in the state of Arizona, and we pretty much live the American dream type of existence, right? We got the big house, the big 4,000 square foot house. We got 3 cars outside. We got 3 car garage. You know what I'm saying? The hubs, works at a corporate job. I run our businesses. I'm a fashion designer and I get to work from home, right? I stay at home, and currently I'm homeschooling our son, which is another story. Please check for videos about that because the American school system here, I've had about enough of them. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. But I'm ready to go. As a Black American, as an African American here in the United States, I find that it is increasingly difficult to maintain a sense of hope and neutrality here when you're constantly facing microaggressions from white people, when you're constantly seeing in the news about Black people being murdered by police with impunity, when you're constantly being redlined and not able to, open or sustain businesses. Like, there's a lot of factors that make it very difficult for Black people to live in the United States. And I know a lot of people from other countries think, the United States is land, milk, and honey, and they want to get here so bad. But I can tell you, if you ask any Black person who lives here, we are ready to go. So I'm doing some research right now so that my family can go. We all have our passports. We're starting to save our little monies. We're starting to put our monies into some investments that will create some sustainable income for us so that we can just get the heck out of here. In the big scheme of things, I really just want to live a quiet existence. I'm down for minimalism. Like, I don't need this 4-bedroom house. Like, there's only 3 of us. Why we need a 4-bedroom house with 2 living rooms? Like, it's excess. Like, it's unnecessary. And at the end of the day, after watching more and more videos about expats and about people who spend their life traveling, the sentiment is the same. Less is more. And having so much, or the constant desire to have so much and to kind of keep up with the rat race here in the United States, causes us to have a workaholic culture where we specifically work just to have these things, but having these things doesn't ultimately give us happiness. So we're always looking for ways to take vacations, but we never take them. We have all this PTO, paid time off. We never take it. And we just work for the sake of working. But that's not living. And I'm ready to live my life. I'm almost 40 years old. Believe it or not, I know Black don't crack. We tend to look young. But yeah, like, I'm almost 40 and I'm like, enough is enough. The economic climate here definitely will try to keep you reeled in, right? Because the American dollar goes far. So we will not be giving up our United States citizenship. I think that has been probably the greatest blessing that the Lord could have given us in the midst of the tragedy of us being snatched from our ancestral homelands, if you believe that we come from Africa, or of having our ancestral homelands here in the United States snatched from us if you believe that we were here. There's various, theories on that. I don't know if we from here or if we ain't, but what I do know is I'm tired. And y'all can have it. Y'all can have it back. Y'all can have it forward, front. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care who built it. I don't care how much blood, sweat, and tears. Like, none of that. Just because you captured my ancestors and made them slaves here and made them work for this piece of crap country doesn't mean that I owe any allegiance or loyalty to it. Doesn't mean that I have to stay here. Have passport, will blacks it. Okay? Okay. So I'm looking at different places, right? And one of the things that I came across, I was watching a video about another YouTuber. I can't remember her name right now. I'll probably leave it in the description box. But she was expressing her observations on, the American viewpoint versus viewpoints in other places that she's visited and things that she's noticed about Americans after having left. Now, she grew up in America. She's American. But having traveled the world some, she's come to some conclusions about Americans. And one of them is our internalized fear, almost to the state of paranoia. And so that's why I wanted to touch on here today. And if you've, kind of noticed this as an expat, or if you have some experience traveling other places and you want to kind of chime in on this, like, I'd love to hear your comments and your experiences on this. But I was telling my husband, hey, babe, like, I'm noticing there's some really cheap travel, from LAX. We're in Arizona, so we can leave right out of California and get some really cheap flights, like, to the Philippines. And it's really cheap to stay there. Like, maybe we could stay there for like a month or something like that. Like, it'd be very economical for us to do that. And his response was, I don't know, babe. Like, it's kind of rough in the Philippines right now. It's a lot of poor people there. And, they killing politicians. And I had to, like, stop the presses. Like, let's really put these things in perspective. The United States is really rough right now, babe. It's a lot of poor people, some unchecked homelessness, a lot of crime. There's definitely a lot of political unrest and corruption, as well as specific xenophobia towards people of color, mass shootings every other week in public places, unchecked guns, and just general unrest. Like, when you put things in perspective like that, if you use the same measuring sticks for the United States that we use for other countries, I wouldn't come here. Like, and I know that there are some countries that have actually put the United States on a travel ban, because of the unrest and the specific treatment of minorities of color. There are some countries, especially in the Middle East, etc., who have put the United States on a list of places that are not safe to travel. So you put that in perspective, you really have to use a different lens, I think, when you view these reports about other countries, especially poorer countries. There's always going to be poor people. There's poor people everywhere. I mean, if you didn't travel somewhere because there was poor people, like, you wouldn't go out the house. You just stay in your house. And half of y'all poor anyway. So you can't even stay in your own house. Poor people in there. But I think it's really important that we really look at those things in perspective. Yeah, there's poverty, but it's not everywhere. And there's not looting and shooting and killing everywhere. It's almost like if someone was to say, people in the United States don't have clean running water. Because in Flint, they don't have clean running water. Flint, Michigan still has lead water, like some third world country type of a situation. Would it be fair for people to say, I can't go to the United States? Like, I can't go to New York because there's not clean running water in Flint. I can't go to California because they still lynching people to a degree, in the South. when you look at it like that, it doesn't make sense. But that is the lens that we view other countries through. So, I would love to hear your feedback on this. Do you feel that Americans live in a constant state of fear and paranoia? Do you think that we look at other countries through an unfair lens? And I would love for someone to drop information about countries that are affordable to travel to, that have a bad rap, that aren't that bad. Like, let's have some dialogue about it, family, so that we can really get some real perspective and stop having like ugly American syndrome. If you don't know what that is, look it up. I don't want to be an ugly American. I don't even want to be an American. I don't keep my passport though, because that joint is strong. All right, family, y'all have a good one. Let's be intentional about the way that we think about these things and about the way that we proceed forward as we continue to grow our empires and expand our territories. Have a good day. Don't forget to like and subscribe this page and check in with me on my other social media.